Hi, I'm Esther. Welcome to my Flosstube. Hello again. Yeah, it's me already. Just 2 weeks after my last video. But I have no plans for this weekend, so I said, why not make another Flosstube? And here I am. In the last week or so, last couple of days actually, I have got quite a lot of new subscribers, and that's definitely thanks to Chris CrossStitch. Thank you, Chris. Because he nominated me for a challenge, the Herbst challenge. I'll talk more about that later. And he also said some very kind words about me and my channel, and I'm really happy for those words, so thank you again, Chris. I thought with that many new subscribers, it's about time that I present myself a little more, because it has been more than a year ago since I last told you a little bit more about myself than my name. My name is Esther. I was born here in Denmark 57 years ago. I have lived in Denmark all my life, except for 10 months where I lived in Greece, in Athens. That's a very long time ago, almost 30, 40. Let's not talk about how long ago that was. Anyway, I live 50-60 kilometers south of Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, in case you don't know. I work as a teacher in an independent school. I teach English as well as German, and I'm also, you don't have that phrase in English, but we call it class teacher, but it's more than a contact teacher. But anyway, I have that role in a 5th and in a 7th grade, so 2 classes. I'm not alone. We are 2 teachers for each class doing this job, this task. I've been a teacher for 27 years, and I'm still not tired of it. I learned stitching by my beloved aunt, my father's sister, back in the 70s, and I have stitched so on off since then. Back then I thought that you could only stitch on one project at a time. Those days are over. And sometimes I had a break of when I was stitching on a project, for example, a table runner, where the motif is the same and you have to stitch the same motif twice. I would usually stitch on it. I would usually stitch one of the motifs, and then I would put it aside, and then I would take a break until almost a year after, and then I would stitch the other one. So I had kind of forgotten how it felt to stitch that. That meant that I didn't produce as many projects as I do now, because I very often grew bored, and then I just skipped, and then I did something, and then I did other crafty things. My latest break from stitching was from 2013 till the pandemic hit in March of 2020. That's almost 7 years, but in the meantime I had moved to this house with a garden, so I spent a lot of time, actually most of my spare time, in the garden and rearranged the whole garden. At evenings I was so tired I wouldn't have been able to stitch, so I just didn't. I kind of forgot it until the pandemic. So in March of 2020 I was thinking, what should I do with all my spare time? I can stitch. And one day I was kind of browsing YouTube, and all of a sudden I stumbled upon a Flosstube. It was Teresa Little Stitcher. And oh my. There might be a hashtag now called Teresa Made Me Do It, but she should have put that hashtag up that long time ago, because oh boy, was that a rabbit hole. hand-dyed floss, hand-dyed fabrics, needle minders, you name it. There were so many things that I had absolutely no idea existed until Teresa showed me. But the biggest revelation was definitely you can have more than one whip. Oh, really? Yes. Then I don't have to stop stitching because a project bores me. I can just take another one. And that quite fast. I had 5 whips, then I had 10, 15, 20, and so and so. And in the last year, I think my whip pile has always been between 45 and 60 whips. And that's okay by me, because I like starting new stuff, but also I also have that rule, if you could call it that I do not start a project with more than 100,000 stitches. I think my biggest so far has been Captain John Hart. It had, I think, 70 something stitches. But I will not stitch on anything with more than 100,000 stitches, because I want to make sure that I actually do have time to finish it before I have to leave here. Most of my projects, or a lot of them anyway, have between 1,000 and 5,000 stitches, which means that I can actually finish a project like that in a week if I only stitch on that one, but I don't. So usually it takes a little longer. But sometimes you will see that I just started a project and then I finished it. One of the great things about discovering Flosstube was also that I all of a sudden noticed that there were so many great patterns out there. Danish patterns are, for me, a lot of the Danish patterns, I find them boring. I'm talking about Permin, Øllenslægger, håndarbejdsfremme, etc., etc. It's not that they're ugly, but they're just not my style, which is why I find them boring. And also, you have to, in the last couple of years, there have been some development towards more modern kind of cross-stitch, but most cross-stitch patterns in Denmark are still those kind of old-fashioned ones. I don't mind cross-stitch patterns to be old-fashioned, especially not the Christmas ones. They have to be old-fashioned. And I really love the Danish Christmas patterns a lot, and I have stitched a lot of them, and I will continue to do so. But the problem with the most Danish patterns, if you talk about the big ones, Øllenslægger, håndarbejdsfremme, etc., 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 they only come in kits. And those kits are not cheap. I kid you not. One kit is usually between 500 and 700 Danish kroner. When you're talking, for example, about a table runner. Of course, you can find them cheaper, but most of them are between 500 and 700 kroner if it's kind of a big project. And that's about $70 to $99 for one kit. I don't think you pay that much outside of Denmark. So what do I stitch? I mostly stitch pop culture, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer items. Fourth Wing is the newest. But also do I like Halloween a lot. Halloween has really grown on me in the last couple of years. And also some Christmas stuff, as well as subversive, and also, from time to time, some geometric patterns. My favorite designers are both kind of spooky designers, the Witchy Stitcher as well as MamaWitchCrossStitch or cross-stitch. I talked a bit more about them in my latest video. I will link to that up here. So this time I actually bought some stuff. Not much, but still. On October the 1st, a Witchy Stitcher day, I bought this pattern, Kiss the Librarian. That's from the Buffyverse. But I also found boxes like this. Sorry about the ring light. They're actually for food, but I decided I would use them for my trimmings. So these are different kind of trimmings. I also have some rickrack, not that many yet. I would like to have some more. And different kind of lace, all different kinds, as well as my pom-poms. I have more than this, but while I was sorting through, I also found these. These I have a lot of, so I put these here, but these are trimmings I'm never going to use. I once bought a, what do you call it, a mystery bag with trimmings, and those were in there, and most of them weren't some I would like to use. So I am planning on doing a giveaway soon on Instagram, because I am 55 short of reaching 1,000 followers on Instagram, and therefore I've decided I'm going to make a little giveaway there, and those trimmings might be some of the prizes there. I'm still not done thinking about how it should be, but I will let you know on Instagram when it's time. So first, some I can't say that word, Stitchtistics, but I love the word. I just can't pronounce it. From now on, my statistics about my stitching will be a little different on my Flosstube, because I've decided to make them monthly. Some of you might have seen this on Instagram already. As you can see, September was a very good month, but that's also because of my challenge to finish as many old whips as possible. Before I now show you my projects, please remember that you can find the infos about fabric and designer, etc. on my shared Google document. I will put the link to it in my description box. And I think now it's time to look at some of the projects. And now it's time for my FFOs. I have 6 this time. The first one is Frosted Pumpkin. I tried to show it in the German video, but way too much glare, so I'm just going to put in a photo. And I worked on that for 2 days. I did 600 stitches as well as backstitching, and I love this project. I think it's very, very good. So, and the other one I also put in a frame, but I can actually show it here. It's the Buffy, the sleigh from Stitch magazine, and it's on plain 14 count white Aida, a leftover piece of fabric that I had. Yeah. And most of you might have seen my small pillows. First we have Mr. Robin. It looks like this. It's from MamaWitchCrossStitch, and the fabric also has robins on it. And I'm very pleased with how it turned out, and I find it very, very cute. And then the next 3 ones, it's a set, and you have probably, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know what I'm talking about. I have been stitching on this for 2.5 years or so, but I had decided that I did not want to fully finish any of them until I could do it on all 3 at the same time. of course, it's the House Trio by Waxing Moon Design. And here they are. I think they look adorable, especially on this blue fabric, which is, by the way, 16 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And so this is Spooky House. That's the last one I finished, and I did stitch on that one for 3 days, 1,228 stitches, as well as some backstitching. Not that much backstitching though. And this is Haunted House. That was the first one I finished. And then Creepy House, I showed that as a finish, an FO in my last Flosstube, I think. And they all three have the same backside, like this. It's kind of an autumnal fabric with leaves, and then a little spider web. Yeah, and I think they are absolutely cute. And next week, no, 10 days from now, I have 1 week of holiday, and for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to do a little Halloween decoration. I only got 4 whips, and they are all by the Witchy Stitcher. First one is the Stephen King house. I stitched on it for 1 day, and I did 438 stitches, and I worked, I worked on the stairway, and I still love this project. But there are a lot of projects I love, so, and I don't have that much time to stitch at the moment, so yeah. Then I decide better to stitch a bit on a project than not at all. And this time I only stitch on witchy stuff. The next one is Kikimora. And the fabric color doesn't show correctly because it's actually dirty. I mean, the name of the fabric is dirty. The fabric is, I hope, not dirty. Yeah, so it's Kikimora. I have stitched the other two in this series, and it's on 16 counts. And as I said, from the stitch, yes, this is really going well, from the Witchy Stitcher. I worked on it, let me see, for 1 day, and I stitched 524 stitches on it. The third one is one of my 2 new starts, and it's on this fabric is the fabric I stitched those 3 houses on. So I decided to stitch this Kiss the Librarian on it, because I really like the way the colors pop on this black fabric. Blue fabric. Christ. I worked on this for 1 day and did 786 stitches. As you can see, my needle minder matches. It's a pin that I changed into a needle minder. The last one is also a new start, and this is a Patreon exclusive. I think most of Witchy Stitcher's patrons, if not all, will be up for sale in 4, 5, 6 months or so. This is called Vintage Pumpkin Carriage, and I love it. Well, I love most of Witchy Stitcher's stuff, so that should be no surprise. I stitched with the call for DMC, and this fabric is 18 count silver lurex, which I dyed myself, and actually it shows the colors almost like they are in reality. Yeah, this is better. I worked on it for 2 days, and I stitched 863 stitches. This was also the Herbst challenge that CrossStitch nominated me for. So the challenge has been met. Yeah. The challenge is that you should stitch on, let me see, an autumn project or a project with an orange color in it. This one is both. And if you decide to do cross stitch, you have to stitch 600 stitches. And since I did more than 800, I met the goal. If you're doing purl stitching, bead stitching, you should use 1200 beads. Or if you're doing diamond painting, you should use 1500 stones. Yeah. And I really like the way it looks on this fabric. Eventually, when it's done, I think I'll go outside to take photos so you can see the colors more correctly. So this Herbst challenge, Herbst means autumn in German, was invented by Dr. Fantasy Abenteuer Kreuzstich, glaube ich. Yeah, now I speak German. Well done, Esther. It was invented by Dr. Fantasy Abenteuer Kreuzstich. I have no idea on how many German Flosstubers already has been nominated. I think quite a lot of them, which is why I decided that I would not pick a German-speaking Flosstuber, but an English-speaking Flosstuber. You have to pick Flosstubers for it. So 2 of those I nominate are from Australia. I hope you will join, and if not, that's also okay. But anyway, I'm going to nominate Animal Stitches, Kelly, as well as Liz from Stitch by Liz. And the last one I nominate is Witchy Stitches from England. And the reason why I nominate these 3 are that they all stitch Halloween stuff. So I know a lot of you do, but I should only nominate 3. So I'm looking forward to seeing if you would like to participate. I hope you will. I also did some knitting this time. I have 3 whips to show you, where one of them is a new start. The first one is this one. I did stitch a bit on this, and it's the mohair in it, it makes it so soft. And usually I don't like this color that much, but together with the other, it looks all right, I think. And I think it will look okay. And yes, it's a scarf, because that's all I know how to knit. I can't read a knitting recipe. Yeah, I can read it, but I don't understand it. So the next one you also saw last time. I'm very close to have knit the first skein. As you can see, I only got this left, and I have one more skein, and as you can see, it will be double the length of this one. And I love these colors. I find them absolutely beautiful. So yeah, it's really nice. And then I had a new start, because my friend Henriette, who by the way has a knit tube, I don't know what you call it in English. In Danish it's called a knitting podcast. She was talking about this special yarn called Cascade 220, about a knit along. I do have some 220, but I also had some other Cascade which I would prefer to knit in. So I started that. I have shown it on Instagram. This is how the yarn looks. Beautiful autumnal colors. It's called Venezia. Yeah, you can see the information. And I knit quite a lot on it. It's like this now. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. Just look at it. I love these colors. And it's so soft because it's 30% silk. So it's really nice. And it's really nice to work with. And the reason why I had stitched so much on this is because the other day I went to a talk that lasted almost 2 hours. So I got a lot of knitting. And I decided to bring a knit project along because I didn't know how the light was going to be. And it is easier to knit while you listen in public in a way. Not that I haven't stitched before, I could do that, but besides the lighting wasn't good enough for stitching. So that was it for now. I plan, not that I will succeed, but I do plan to go back to my old schedule where I film every 2 weeks. If you remember, if you have been here from the start, I did that in the beginning of my Flosstube videos. And then life happened, you know, my now ex, Carsten, was diagnosed with cancer. And that took a lot, and I had a lot to do at work. And I mean, life happened. But at the moment, I do have a lot of work to do, but it feels like I'm on a roll. I'm in a very good mood almost every day and have a way more energy than I used to have. So why not give it a shot and see if I can actually make a video every two weeks. What else? Yeah, I don't know if I already said this because I'm filming the German as well as the English video at the same time. And if I already said this, I'm going to cut this part out. In about 10 days, I have a week holiday. And for the first time ever, I'm going to put up some Halloween decorations. You might be able to see over there that I'm doing something, and I am. But I will show you on Instagram when it's done, and maybe in my next Flosstube, even though it has nothing to do with stitching. It does have a little bit to do with, I mean, I'm going to use what I'm making right now as kind of props for when I take photos of finished Halloween projects, if that makes any sense. Well, if you watched until now, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you again, and until then, take care.